Welcome to the Gentleman's Talk, where the podcast talks about a man's battle with mental health, his personal experiences, and his journey to be a better soul. Hosted by James Dean Littlejohn.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Gentleman's Talk. How are we? Hope we're okay. I'm relaxed. I've had an amazing day in the sun, actually. Just relaxing, chilling out, just taking time out, really, and I've just been sat in the garden enjoying the sunset with a gin and some music on in the background, as you can tell. A little bit of mixture of upbeat and some relaxing tones. Been interesting, actually, and just nice to re-engage with myself. And really, I've done more podcasts now than I've ever done before. I really am enjoying the process, and I've had some interesting conversations over the last sort of day or so, just regarding asking me questions indirectly, I suppose. Conversations spurred me on to talk a little bit more, spurred me on to talk about a topic which has been the forefront, really, of my mental health journey, and it's something that I've struggled with. I've always struggled with, and I alluded to in my last podcast that I think it encompasses, that ADHD type symptoms. But at the same time, I don't want to put a label on it because, I don't need to. I'm 40. I don't need to start labelling myself at my age. There's nothing that can be done about it. But what I have done is, kind of acknowledged it and started to try and adjust it, sort of identified it, and now I've been dealing with it. And that's my anger, and that's the anger that I deal with. That sort of kind of, that quick spark reaction you have to a scenario where someone can just say something, or someone can just do something that, instantly irritates you, or there's somebody has some feedback towards you that instantly irritates you, and mental health conditions are really, really difficult to deal with when it comes to the person that uses that as a reaction, as a this is how I deal with my mental health, with rah, sort of screaming down the phone at you, and or shouting in your face, or throwing things around. Anger is such a volatile reaction, but with men, it's one of our first go-tos. It's a really shit card you were dealt with when we received that chemical called testosterone. And although I get there's an element of anger that's needed in our bodies, you have to, because you have to look after yourself, protect yourself, defend. We are men, and when you look back at the whole evolution of mankind, men are always protectors. Men should be the protector, the big burly male, big hairy beard, and just big hands. And I'm describing myself, but they should be. Men should be men. Men should be. We need an element of that kind of reaction, because we have to be on point. That's why we have stronger muscle fibers. We are designed to protect, so however, there's a fine line between protection and and losing control, not having control of that anger. And that's the day and age we live in. We're not in that barbaric time now where we're traipsing through forests and fighting dinosaurs, although in some workplaces I've certainly met a few dinosaurs that I'd have liked to have had a fight with, we're not into that. We don't need to do that. We are it's difficult to say we're in a peaceful world at the moment when Ukraine are going through what they're going through, but I mean in terms of everyday, in terms of everyday life, we're certainly a lot more subdued than what we had to be in the barbaric times. When we had to fight and defend for our own food. Now we've got property, etc., etc. So we still have an element of that on the streets, but, you know, overall in life, we don't have to worry, we don't have to react like that. So we should really be able to control it, and we should be able to release that anger in a controlled manner and, you know, reasonable force, you know, exactly. That's why, you know, all law relates around reasonable force. Did you use reasonable force for the type of situation, you know? So, but if you haven't got that, you haven't got that little bit in the middle that says to yourself, you know, you've lost control. When you start losing control, this is when, you know, these problems, these issues become a problem, because you're losing control. And you have to remember at the end of the day that you're a man. So you are strong. You know, if you lose control and you don't have control of your own strength, that's when you can hurt innocent people. And we don't want that. That's why, you know, we need to learn to control our emotions right from the very start. You know, and if that means, you know, you're addressing it because you're snapping through an argument situation, for instance, then, you know, then you've acknowledged it early. You've not done any sort of real collateral damage, as they said. You know, so unfortunately, over the years, through my own, you know, my own issues, I have had not fights, but I've had physical altercations due to the fact of not being able to control these emotions very early on. It never an arrestable offence, never physically hurt anybody, but it's kind of like that pushing, that shoving. You know, you put yourself in a situation, you shouting, you know, and it's just not a. You need to grip that and get hold of it, and that's where I've done a lot of research over the last 6 months to a year, and stuff that I've used and stuff that I've done to manage this, just to get it under control. I've had it under control for a while because I had to. I had no choice, because you can't allow it to. But it got to the point where it could have been catastrophic. So I was like, we need to address this. We need to acknowledge that we're in a shit situation and sort it out. So. But it's only really that I've been able to control myself, you know. So it never escalated to physicality, you know. It's never got to that point. But it's the verbal bit that I struggle with, because that's where I've started learning. Because at the end of the day, you don't have to physically hurt somebody to actually hurt them. So, you know, and I've always, you know, as I've said, you know, for me, words are mightier than the sword, because I have that ability, unfortunately, to you know, sort of systematically break people down if I have to, you know, and it's not a very nice trait to have. In fact, it's a horrible trait, and I'm glad that I've managed to get that under control. But what you can do is you can still say things that it can be really, really minuscule, minor to you. But when you say it in such a context, you know, in such context, or in a really dramatic way, in the terms of an argument or a heated conversation, you can say something that may be nothing to you, but to the other person might really, really impact them. And that will harbour and that will fester for weeks. And then it will get to the point where they'll start resenting you because you might top it up with another argument. So you really need to grip this as early as you can. And, you know, kind of look at the scenario as best you can. I mean, you know, I used to get angry when people used to cut me off in traffic, or, you know, God forbid, someone doesn't want to cooperate with you, you know. So kind of there's an element of anger that we can control there, isn't there? So I used to get angry with the traffic when it didn't really impact people. I used to get angry when people used to refuse to cooperate with me, normally my children. But you know, there's a difference between, you know, a common emotion that we would talk about there, and an unhealthy emotion where, you know, it's uncontrolled anger could take you to the toll, you know, to those peaks where, you know, you affect your health and your relationship. Because we have to remember, what comes with anger comes stress. What does stress do? Stress causes muscle damage, you know, muscle sort of tension. It causes hypertension, headaches. And then we revert back then to going into our negative state again, don't we? Where we regress back into everything's painful, your back's tight, your neck's tight, everything's tight, and you're like solid, you're angry, you're bitter, you're going into resentment again, and you see this mixture of emotions. So if you can't control that, and you can't control the element of anger, that is ultimately what that's going to cause, is a health and a relationship problem. We don't want to do that. So some things that I do now, and I know that sometimes it's like, it sounds obvious, I'm not teaching you to suck exit, but at the same time, it's putting it in context. And one of the first things I really, really do now is, and it's taken me a while, because sometimes I do react rather quickly, but it's taken me a while to grasp, and that's think before I actually speak. It's massively important to do that. It's like when you're in the heat of that moment, it's really easy to say something that, you'll potentially regret or potentially hurt someone. So you need to take a few moments just to sit there and collect everything, collect your thoughts. And before you say anything, evaluate what you think you're going to say. And I know that said, you think that would take a lifetime to do that, but it doesn't. It's a split second, because your reaction was a split second. You clicked your fingers, boom, you've said a bunch of words that have absolutely belittled that person, or completely unhinged the environment, kind of added that atmosphere, just so you can do it. If you just take a moment to analyse the situation and, allow yourself to think about it, which can take a second. You go, oh, split second, stop. And when you start pausing for thought, you'll actually become a better person in everything you do. And I do that all the time. Whenever, even as a manager, when I'm sitting there and I'm going, in this situation, I really want to jump across the desk, rip his head off, bar like hero. But you don't do that, do you, as manager? You have to control yourself. So you do it in work. So as a manager, I'll sit there and I'll slowly breathe, and I'll take my time, and then I'll just analyse what I think I want to say, and then I try and quickly turn those into words that would be, sort of appealing to the conversation, but get my point across, if you like, And one of my friends he actually asked me a similar type of question, and it's very easy. It was very easy for me to answer, and I got excited, because I thought, well, I can talk about this in my podcast. And he asked me his question, because he loses anger very much like I did, and still do at times. I'm only human, and I still battle this mental health journey. So there is times where I can't control it, and that's the heat of the moment. But at the same time, I try every time, so I try more and more. Excuse me. And he said to me he'd had a really good day, really relaxing day, and he said he got to the end of the day, and he had a heated discussion with his partner, and it was just like a fleeting comment was made by his partner about something that ultimately the easiest resemblance, or the easiest reason why he got passionate about it, was because there was a comment made about his own memorabilia, his own personal property, things he'd collected. So, and it was probably a negative comment, but at the same time probably wasn't meant in the malice that it would have come across to him, because he's taken that personally. And he reacted with, rah, 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 I've got this, I collect this, I've done this. And everything he said, it was absolutely justified, 110%, because they're his emotions. That's how he feels about this. But then when you look outside the box, and you're standing out from, say, my perspective, listening to his conversation, and I look out from the outside and I analyse inwards, and I go, well, okay, I can see why you've done it, because she's made a comment about, something that's very personal to you. You could have articulated that across in a different way, which would have still made your point, but not caused so much of a problem in terms of, the mood and the atmosphere, So it was just taking that split second to go, okay, I acknowledge what you said there, but, these mean a lot to me. I've collected them, rah, 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 and said it in such a way that, I'm just a little bit passionate about it, so I'm sorry I have these things. And then sort of almost put the onus back on to go, well, I don't know what our problem is, and then you can discuss it a bit further. This is where communication comes in. But so I understand where he comes from, and I understand I would have reacted in the same way. I have reacted in the same way, especially if you mention something that's personal to me, something that's, I've put love and care into, or something that means a lot to me because it resembles a very good memory, or it resembles a really good time in my life. And there's quite a few things I'm very passionate about just because of that exact thing. So I understand that. And then I understand why he would have reacted like that, because he probably saw it as a bit of a personal attack against his own, something that he feels very strongly about. So what he's done wrong, what he's done there is nothing wrong. He hasn't done anything wrong. What he's done is not controlled his emotions. So he hasn't thought before he spoke. Now, and that's not, we used to say that all the time as a kid, think before you speak, and we do all the time. Sometimes we say things. I've said things. I've put myself in horrible situations where I've said things. And actually alludes back, I don't know if I ever told you this, but there was a prime example where I used to not think, and I have to share this story because it's a story that's stuck in my mind for the rest of my life. And it means so much to me in the sense that it was probably the most awkward situation I think I've ever been in. And I've been in a few awkward situations from time. And I was getting my hair cut. I went to the local hairdressers and I was getting my hair cut. And I went in and spoke to this woman. And I'm quite a chatty person, So I was chatting away. We're about sort of 3/4 of the way through. And about halfway through the haircut. And I was just having chat conversation, and the conversation went a little fizzled, and she turned around and said to me, have you got any children? I was like, oh yeah, actually I've got 3 daughters, and we had a conversation as we were cutting my hair, and I was like, oh brilliant. I said, and because she'd addressed me and said, have you got any children, and this is the kicker bit really, she looked pregnant to me. I don't know, it was just all belly. So I kind of went, thinking, well, obviously she's talking about kids because she's got one coming on. She was wanted to escalate the conversation a bit further. So I said to her, oh, well, when are you due? And she went, when am I what? I said, when are you due? And she goes, I'm not pregnant. Now, what do you do in a situation like that when you know you've still got about 15 to 20 minutes of a haircut left? I don't know. I said, I am so sorry. I feel absolutely horrendous. So I played it down as best as I could. Lo and behold, I never went back there ever again. I don't even think I drove past the place. I was like, shit in hell. Anyway, so think before you speak is really, really important. And that was more of an embarrassing situation than a negative situation. But at the same time, I've been there. I've got the T-shirt. I've done it in many, many times. Anyhow, so yeah, make sure you think before you speak, and that was really quite easy advice to give, but it's at the same time, it's not easy advice because you're consciously reacting. You don't have to be in a stressful situation. There's times where I've literally, this morning, for instance, had literally a full-on meltdown almost. When my wife said to me, she said, I'm going to go and I'm taking my brother and his partner and 2 kids down to the train station. I was like, oh, are you? Well, that's fucking, what's all that about? Why are we at their beck and call? So I literally lost control for a brief second. Why are we at their beck and call? Why are they not fucking taking their own way down? What's our responsibility? And it was an element probably of jealousy because they were going to Southampton and doing something and we hadn't organised anything, and I was kind of like, you seem excited about that, but you're not trying to make something fun and exciting for us to do. Why is it her responsibility? I don't know, but you know what I mean? I was kind of just being a bit of a dick. And I did, and I vented off. And I didn't think before I spoke. And this morning, prime example, I had to apologise. So I was going out and I just said, I'm going to walk the dog quickly while she finished getting ready. And I shouted up. I said, sorry, ignore what I said for 25 minutes ripping into your ears. I apologise. I've been an absolute dick. I'm sorry. Now, she, obviously, known me for so long, says, don't worry about it, I've killed you 7 different ways in my head. So that's what she says a lot lately. So I think she gets used to how I react, and I think that because I'm so positive with my apologies and quite quick with my apologies now, it works because sometimes it is hard for me to control my anger and my words. It's not physical anger, it's just frustration, and I get quite angry really, really quickly. So now I'm acknowledging it, whereas before I'd walk in and go, why is everyone fucking crying? And why is there carnage everywhere? What the fuck's happened here? Almost to the point where it almost blacked me out. I'd be like, fucking rage. Now, it's a little bit more controllable to a degree. I still say things, not as hurtful, but I still get frustrated. I still get a bit annoyed about signs, and I do react very quickly. But I'm quick to apologise. And now people would say, well, there's only so much people are going to take from that. Well, no, I've got very understanding, because my wife knows the mental health condition. She knows and fully appreciates mental health condition. She's lived with it now for years. So, she's seen the worst of me. So if anything, she sat me down yesterday and said, yeah, we were away for the week and we were talking about you, and you're just saying how far you've come on, how much better you are, she can see I'm trying my hardest to manage it. She said, yes, there is days, where I want to kill you. But she said, it's nice to see that you're actually making an effort. And that's how deep in the hole I was, so it's really important that I'm making my own journey work, as well as talking to you about it. So that was like, it's not just about talking about these problems, but sometimes you have to understand there is collateral damage to mental health, and I can fully relate that there is massive amounts of collateral damage from mental health problems, and sometimes that's not even irreversible, which I've discovered. But if you've got an understanding partner who truly, truly, truly loves you, and has been there through all of the heartache as well as some of the good times, but has been there through literally the rock bottom when everybody else chins you off, that speaks volumes, because you don't get that. You will never get that. So yeah, it's really important. So think before you speak, people. Think before you speak. And that sort of kind of leads me on to what I was saying then, so, once you're calm and you've thought before you speak, express your concerns. But, as soon as you're thinking clearly, you remove that fog, and then you need to start expressing the frustration with the situation, but not in an assertive, crappy manner, where you're bollocking, or not in a sort of confrontational way. You need to state it clear. You need to get it clear, precise, direct, and controlling your feelings. And that's what I'm learning to do now. I'm learning there. This is a process. Christ, it doesn't happen overnight, and I've regressed no end over the last 4 months, and I anticipate that it will regress at some point again, but I'm identifying it and I'm embracing it. But it's really, for me, that's like one of the biggest things is expressing it and articulating. And I do that quite a lot now. So like in the morning, for instance, now if I'm feeling in a crap place, I will openly tell people in the house, so I am absolutely sorry, guys, but I am not in the frame of mind to talk or take any shit today. I sincerely apologise, but I'm just going to keep myself to myself. Now, why do I do that? Well, I do that because then people will be conscious about what they approach me with, in the sense, and I'm not doing that I don't do it to milk the system like there's some people out there that would do that. I don't put busy on my Skype because I'm not actually busy. Do you know what I mean? It's that type of thing, that scenario. It's the same as I wouldn't walk down and go, leave me alone, if I just didn't, if there wasn't a genuine reason, because I'm not like that. I like to be social. So, I do it because then if someone comes to me with something really fucking trivial and I react like an absolute Looney Tune, I'm like, well, I did forewarn you. Or, for instance, less of the stupid questions come your way when you identify that. And people also give you a little bit of respect, because we are all human beings. We are in a crazy world at the moment that is fast-paced, full on. We don't know whether we're coming or going, and none of us have got any money. So at the end of the day, there's a lot of stress going on in life, So we need to acknowledge we have to we're managing that, and we're managing bills and all the other shit that goes on in life, pandemics and all the other things as well as stuff. So we need to make sure that we express our concerns when we can. And if you're passionate about something, without reacting, and this sort of kind of, another thing I do is what I, instead of just reacting, if something's said now, what I tend to do is or before I've even started, I tend to go for a walk, or I tend to go and take myself out of the situation, calm down. And that's really, really important, is to ensure you're calming down, because once you've calmed down, so say for instance you're in a situation, someone reacts, and we can't always do that because there is road rage and there is quick situations, and we have to manipulate this advice into our own scenario. But it's really easy to think before you speak, so you can do that with any situation. You can once you're thinking, you're going to be calm, and then you'll express your concerns, but express your concerns in the right way. But to go even more in depth, to dive in even deeper, if you're having, say, a relationship issue or a friendship issue, and something happens, is you stop, take yourself out of the scenario, walk away, breathe, take 5 minutes to yourself, and then come back. And then articulate your problems. And that could be a relationship, friendship, could be anything. If you do it that way, I guarantee the other person will respect you for it, because you've just said, excuse me, and walked away. You don't have to explain yourself. You say, excuse me, you've walked away, you've calmed down your adrenaline, you've calmed down everything, you just brought yourself back to reality, and you've walked in and go, I'm not comfortable with what you did there, or I don't like what you said there, or your comment there was a bit disrespectful in the sense that you know why I do this and do that and I collect this or do whatever. And if you're and that felt a little bit personal for me, because this means a lot to me. It's about my life, or whatever context you want to put it in. When you articulate that in such a nice way and in a calm manner, you'll get a lot more respect, and they'll actually probably think to themselves, you're probably right. I'm a bit of a dick. I shouldn't have said that. Do you know what I mean? And that's where you put it back in their court, but you're putting it back in their court in a nice way. You're putting it back in the court in the right way, because it's really important to do that, because that's what builds relationships. That's what builds friendships. When you fly off the handle in a friendship and it doesn't work. When you fly off in a relationship, it doesn't work. Let's be honest. If you have an argument with your partner, it means a lot less of everything that you really want in life for a long time, and it just gets worse and worse. It's the point where you're just doing things because it's a necessity, or you'll even to the point where you'll start harbouring that resentment again. And we go back to where we spoke about the other day, didn't we? So getting some exercise and getting out of there, even if it's just a case of you see a scenario building up, stop that scenario and go and take a break, take some time out. It's not just for kids. We don't use that phrase just for kids. It's give yourself a short break any time of the day, whenever you need it. When a situation feels to be stressful, or there's a time in the day where everything catches up on you because you're tired at that point of the day, or whatever, or a certain scenario makes you feel that way, then take yourself out of that situation for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it takes. Obviously not all day. Christ, you'd be in a shit. But take yourself out of the situation just for that brief period of time. Even if it's just a case, excuse me a minute, because you know that something's annoying you, whether you're in a meeting and you're sat there and you're going, he's really fucking doing murdering, or this guy's an absolute tool. Take yourself out of the situation, because we can't help that, and it's not going to go away. It's only going to get worse by escalating the situation. Take yourself away, and then kind of go into, even if you've got to just go into the toilet, chuck a bit of water over your face. Deep breathe, take some calm breathing, so just in and out. Use your Calm app, use your watch, your smartwatch, whatever you want to do. Just count in and out, so nice deep breathing, slow deep breathing, and then take yourself back into the situation. I've done that on a few occasions, actually. And two of those occasions, I was attacked personally by two. Well, it was when I was in my RAF days, and someone came in one of my RAF days and absolutely berated me because I wouldn't make a sticker for him because I was busy, and absolutely tore me down. Now, I was physically shaking with adrenaline once I was the way he was treating me. Now, I sort of learned early on, and I forgot about it, but I learned early on, and I took myself out of that situation, and I remembered that situation. And then I came back in, and my boss at the time was in the other room, and he heard I'd had it under control, but came out when I said, all right, Doug, can you just deal with this customer, and I'm just going to go and pop downstairs quickly. He kind of knew that I was taking myself out of the situation, so he walked back through and he said, just hold on there, and he said, who are you, because he heard it all. And I went and calmed my breathing down, and then I came back into the situation, and it was a lot more controlled for me then, because he'd already lost control, and if I'd have lost control, I'd just made it worse. So I didn't lose control. I took myself out of the situation, and that's where I think women have a real good ability to do that, don't they? Control their emotions so that they don't get in an angry situation, so they can easily chuck it back in your face. So take your time out, But one of the one of the things that I find that is an easy thing to do with when it comes to this, and this is all encompassed really in this is really a platform of anger management. This is kind of the same scenario. I know we can put it into any context to do with mental health really, but it does fall under anger management. And it's kind of, instead of like, if you know a situation, so I knew that certain situations make me angry. They really do. Being late really makes me angry, and I know that one of my friends just laughed his ass off because I was 2 hours late to seeing him. So, but it does normally. That was a fluid situation with my family, so I couldn't. We'll leave in that, Billy. So, but I don't like being late, and I don't like. I like to plan everything, and if it doesn't go on plan, I do get a bit stressed out. So, and driving, absolutely, obviously, I think justified by the car crashes that I've endured. Stresses me out, and even when other people are driving I get stressed out, so I can't even watch the road for them because I think that they're not dealing with it in the scenario in the right situation. So a lot of the time now I sit in the back and just look at my phone and don't even bother with the road journey, just get us there, and if we're there safe, happy as Larry. So what I did there really was I tried to I tried to identify, I keep repeating some of my words. I tried to identify these possible solutions that were causing my stress levels to increase, and then I was like, how can I manage them? So instead of focusing on what made me mad, I then worked on a resolution to make it better. So, for instance, car driving makes me angry. So I'm like, right, well, let's not drive in peak times. So I manage my day so that I don't drive in peak times. I also drive in a safe car that I know. Unfortunately, when I get into a hire car, the stress levels are there. I don't like getting into hire cars and things like that. I like to just drive my own car. So for me, I've got my car set up nice. It's a very comfortable car. I know how it drives. I know how it handles. And that's how I identify that. And I assess risk on a daily basis now as part of my job. So I look at the risks all the time in terms of ensuring that, my car is as safe as it can be. It's in the right situation. Everything's set up nice. So when I get into my car, it's getting into an armchair and a pair of slippers every single time. And that's what I had to do. Now, people think, that's bonkers, mate. No, if someone drives in my seat and ruins my seat or moves my mirrors, I get fucking livid. Because the car is set up so that I know that I limited movement is required for my head, because I know the mirrors are set up perfectly for me to just sit there, relax. My seat is a bloody lovely leather chair, with heated and lumbar support and everything. It's an absolutely fantastic. It's a really nice old Audi, but it holds its ground, So I know that when I get in, it's like getting in, because it's automatic as well. It's like getting into an armchair. It's lovely. And a pair of slippers, are the pedals. And I know that is how I mitigate me getting angry. Because I know for a fact that I don't need to rush everywhere. I don't feel I need to rush. I've got the power in the car to get me out of situations if I need to. So I've identified that. And I did identify that early on. It didn't work because I still had a lot of stress around travelling up that road all the time on the same journey, because I had to. Since I haven't for the last year, because I've been away from there now, I'm enjoying driving again because I haven't been reminded of that on a daily basis. If you can imagine having a crash, then having a second crash, then having a third crash, all on 2 roads that you had to drive every single day, or at least twice a week, every week, and get reminded of that for the last 9 years because you couldn't get out of that situation, that is going to learn to grate on you. You're going to, every single time that I went past these certain situations at times in the day, because unfortunately my employer didn't let me go in late, or I could come in late, but I had to make the hours up right at the end of the day and travel in the worst peak time of going home. So it never worked, or I ended up just living in work. So I got no support from my previous employers with this. So I had to endure it all the time. I had no choice. So I got to the point where now I'm enjoying driving again because I'm not reminded of that journey, and I don't get that tension that I feel every time I drive past those places. So I identified the possible problems. It's one of the biggest things is is understanding and reminding yourself daily that anger doesn't fix anything. It just makes the scenario worse. That's all it does. If you're angry and tense and you're in that fight or flight, or you're in that fight mode, because, you know, most men are, you just make the situation a lot worse than it should be. And you end up creating an atmosphere that you shouldn't be in, really. One of the things I missed, actually, and this was something I thought about early on today, and it's been bouncing around my mind, and something that I used to use all the time was humour to release the tension and the stress. I used to use humour all the time, and my last job was so good for it. It was so good for it. Working with your best mate every single day. There was rarely a day that I didn't go by where I was having an absolute laugh. Even to the point where I actually was chatting to my wife today in the car, and we were talking about previous employment and how a couple of people have left my previous employer now. So and it's good for me in a way, because she said, well, you know, would you go back? and I kind of jokingly said I would, but I just couldn't do the journey. I said, because part of me does miss it, and I knew painting like the back of my hand, so, you know, it was an interesting scenario, because and the only reason I really thought about it from my perspective was because I missed the laughs. I had some fairly good laughs in my employment with the MOD just before this one, this promotion, in-house promotion. But now, because I work from home, I don't get any of it at all, and it's starting to actually wear me down a little bit. I don't want to be this type of person, because I like having a laugh, and I do miss it, and I used to use that. So, you know, having a laugh is unbelievable. It was like, for instance, I shouldn't have done it, and probably there'll be someone saying this is animal abuse, but I had a super, super sour sweet, and it was like a chewy sweet, and I gave a little tiny bit, and I mean a tiny bit, to my dog, little Shih Tzu, and he put it up, but because it got stuck in between his teeth, and it makes me laugh now, because he was trying to get this out of his teeth, but every time he licked it, he'd obviously get the sharp sourness. The bottom of his mouth, his beard bit, was so wet with sweat, with saliva, he couldn't get this out. And he was sat there looking at me with his eyes going, trying to get this thing out of his tooth, but he was getting swiped with sourness. And I was in absolute hysterics, and it made me laugh so hard that it was like I found an ab somewhere in my belly. I don't know where it was, but there was something that was tense. But I miss that. I do miss that. I really do, because humour is I think for me, humour is the food for life. It is the food of life, really. I mean, I know people say money and love and all that shit, but it's not for me. If I'm having a laugh and I'm having a good time, it makes me so happy inside and out. It radiates out from me. It's a difficult one. Hold on. Excuse me while I just take a little sip. I've got a bit of a dry mouth. Of course, I was craving a bit of gin. Hold on. The ice was battering around there. So, yeah, I do. I miss it. I miss banter a lot. I like it. It's even to another. I was sat there about an hour ago, just before the podcast, and I was sat there, and I was I need to do a sport where I can go to somewhere, and I even thought about taking up boxing. There's a little boxing place around the corner from me, and I thought about it just to go along and have a little bit of a laugh and you know, release some of the tension, and you know, have a little bit of banter, because I do miss it. I don't know where I'd get it from, because to be honest, even if I went into the office in my place, I don't think I'm going to get the banter that I'm looking for. So, you know, I'll continue to work from home for me, thank you. But it might change. It's early doors in this new job. I've only been in 9 weeks. So I think it's 9 weeks, Christ. So yeah, there's Christ, that just smacked me in the face. Sorry, I've been in this job 9 weeks. This new job 9 weeks. It's a long time. So it might come to my rescue, but yeah, I think that it's really, really important to have banter in your life, and as my friend says to me, Baron von Bantersville. It's good times, and most importantly, I think that one of the biggest ways is to ensure that you can manage it and you can pull it in and keep hold of it is practicing your relaxation skills. If you practice your relaxation skills, and that's where it's kind of incorporated a little bit into mindfulness, if I think a little bit as well. You know, all these mental words, they all kind of spin around each other, but they all help each other. You know, like you've got mindfulness, you know, you've got kind of mental health, you've got sort of kind of relaxation, you've got yoga, you've got all but they all help center you. They all help, you know, and I'm not talking feng shui stuff, you know, but if you can manage your temper flare up and sort of kind of put a relaxation skill towards it, like I said, taking yourself out of the situation, breathing for 5 minutes, or going for a brisk walk if you feel the tension in the office or the home environment or wherever is getting getting a little bit heated, is take yourself out of the situation if you know that it's going to escalate while you're there. And deep breathing is such an amazing part for me. And people used to think to me, what do you mean deep breathing? You know, how can that help? Because it slows your heart rate down. And so instead of having to take beta blockers and all that, which is what a lot of people take for anger flare-ups or anxiety, you know, beta blockers to stop your heart racing, is just deep breathing. Just long, like if you go onto Calm, CALM, the app, and they've got relaxation minutes in there, so you can get it down to the point where, I mean, I did when I was really bang on it, you know, and I was really into the calm breathing side of things about 2 years ago. I got it down to the point where when I was kind of losing control a little bit, I got it down to about 2 minutes, whereas I used to press the Calm. I had it on my watch, my smartwatch, and it would go breathe, and I would do a 2-minute breathe, and I'd take myself out of the situation, and I would just deep breathe for 2 minutes and walk back in, because it's really horrible losing control. And the more and more you do that, and the more that you take it easy and take yourself out of these stressful situations, you've addressed what's given you the stress, you've taken yourself out of that situation. It's really, really important to kind of develop those skills, and then once you develop those skills, they become a positive coping mechanism, and then that just reinforces. And when you do it day in, day out, we spoke about this the other day, where it takes roughly 3 months for a habit to become permanent. So when you start doing that and you consciously do that for 3 months, it will become natural. You'll get better at it. It will become a natural coping mechanism. You know that whenever something flares up, you've got to train your brain, because your brain's obviously been trained to be a negative. You've allowed it to be a negative. So now you need to force the switch to the other side, and you need to start thinking positive. And if that means changing the dynamic of how you're dealing with a situation, then that's what you've got to do. That's exactly what you just got to sit there and go, that's what I need to do. I need to breathe. And then the more you do it, and if you get accustomed to the point where you're taking yourself out of situations, say for instance you're in an argument and it's not been caused by you, but you know it's flaring you up and you're getting a bit heated, then use your coping mechanism to take yourself out of the situation. Say, excuse me, and just take yourself out of the situation. Or if it's not got to the point where it's heated but you can feel it, just say, excuse me a minute, I'm just popping out, I'm just going to go to the toilet. Or if it's in the house, go to the toilet, sit down on the toilet and just breathe for 2 minutes. Deep breathing in and out, nice and slow. Control your breathing and then come back down and then reassess the situation. And it might mean that you then can articulate your problem in a proper manner that is calm and under control, and they'll understand more. And then you're going to manage it and you're going to adapt it, and then that'll become normal. Then it'll get to the point where you won't need to physically go to the bathroom every time you have an argument. You'll just walk away. You'll just say, excuse me a minute, I'm just going to go and get a glass of water. And it's going to get a glass of water. That's your 2 minutes. Bosh back in. So this all becomes normal as the more and more you do it. And this is where I keep, I said to you last time, 3 months. You have to do it for 3 months for it to become a positive natural habit. For it to become a natural habit, it has to be done for 3 months. So if you've got a negative reinforcement and you're negatively reacting, then you've obviously done that for more than 3 months because that's your reaction. What you need to do is change that habit, and only you can change that habit. If you can change the habit, do it for 3 months, it will become natural. And yeah, there'll be times where you'll lose control. Christ, I still do. But I've got it a lot more under control, especially in my professional environment. You know, one of the biggest things that the reason I mainly wanted to ensure, not just for myself, not just for the people around me, but also because I can't go on not being able to control yourself. You can't do that. And it's really easy to allow that. And if you're dealing with mental health conditions, an actual condition that you've been diagnosed with, if you're dealing with that on a daily basis anyway, and you're allowing these other unnatural negative coping mechanisms to underpin your mental health condition, you're just going to be completely engulfed with just a world of negativity. So what you need to do is you need to change those little habits, change the way that you approach a situation, to then not let it flare up. Yes, PTSD is going to take over. Yes, anxiety is going to take over. There's times where I'm sat there. Christ, I'm going away next weekend actually, and I've been invited up to Cardiff to see a friend. I've not seen him. The last time we went out together was his 30th, and it's his 40th this year. So we brought that up, which it felt a bit horrible actually that it's been 10 years. And the last time I've seen him was probably about 2 years ago. So he's invited me up to his 40th, which I felt blessed with, and I'm going up with my best mate, and we're going up, and we're staying for the weekend. Now, deep down, I'm really excited because it's going out. I've not been out for a long time. We saw what happened last time, though, didn't we? Where I was trying to go out, and that was just a bloody Andover with a couple of friends. So I'm battling a lot of things inside me at the moment where I'm going, oh God, negative. And I'm not talking about it, but I am battling those problems. It's constantly dealing with that, and it's constantly trying to remove the negativity so that I can, when I deal with the PTSD and I deal with the anxiety and I deal with, the depression and the mood swings, when I deal with those, if I had to also deal with anger management as well and not have it as a controlled coping mechanism like I'm trying to do now, or I've been doing for 3 or 4 months, if I hadn't have had that under control, then it exacerbates everything. Everything gets worse, quicker, faster, and you react harder. So you need to manage those problems to not allow the other problems to be bigger than Ben-Hur. You've got to sit there and you've got to control those things. If you don't control them, it just gets worse and worse. So that's what I'm doing, and that's what I've been doing. So I do breathing techniques. I take myself out of situations. I don't put myself into certain situations. And a lot of people think I'm a bit arrogant for that, and they're a bit like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, well, because I know for a fact that if I do this or I go there or you want me to do this, all it's going to do is stress me out, because I don't physically want to do it. And I know that some people will be like, well, sometimes you got to do things. No, you don't. It's my life, mate. I can literally do and pick and choose what I want to do within the realms of, obviously, law and fucking common sense. You know what I mean? But what I'm saying is I don't have to put myself into any situation for anybody if I don't want to do it. Now, I don't purposely avoid situations, and I am conscious not to allow deep negative thoughts allow me. Like I said, I felt devastated that I didn't go out the other week in Andover. I really did, because I wanted to go out, and I was really gutted about that. So I don't want to let that happen again. It hasn't happened before, and to that extent, I've left parties and stuff such early, but this time was different. This time was, I just shut down. So I don't want to do that again. So I'm recognising that, but I've got a few other outcomes that are coming up as well. So I'm trying to control these things. And I think when you learn to control them, you'll be a better person. But you've got to look after the things that you can control, so that when the things that you can't control, such as PTSD, anxiety, bipolar disorder, whatever mental health condition you may have, flares up. Excuse me. From a certain situation, if it flares up from a certain situation, you can't control that, because that's Well, you can control it. There'll be people out saying you can control it, but you can to a degree. But you can't like if I'm in an anxiety situation, you can't control that. It's flared up. You're in a. It can be anger for me, and it can be whatever. So what I try to do is in a situation like that, I just try to calm down as quickly as I can and reassess the situation and deal with it. If there's a situation I control, but then I will always dip into, in a situation where I've lost control, I'll dip into my coping mechanisms that used to be negative, whereas I would flare up even more and go, yeah, that's what I want to do. Fucking, I feel passionately about that. Fuck you, rah, fucking have it. Yeah, you bastard. You know, that's how you'd react, and that's because you didn't control it. So the PTSD took over, and then your negative control mechanism kicked in and underpinned it, and then you're this bull in a china shop. Before you know, you're smashing shit out of the place. Calm down, James. Fucking, you know, take some time, mate. What you doing? You've murdered 90 people, mate. What's going on? You know what I mean? So you're in a situation like that. You don't want to be that. So if you get into a situation where you get a flare-up and something happens, and I'm going along the road and it's fucking somebody acts like a complete dick in the car, and I go, okay, so I might react quite quickly and go, "Rah!" because of the PTSD, but then I'll go, hold on, James. In the back of my brain, I've got this real fucking good little coping mechanism that I've nurtured and looked after, and, you know, been sort of kind of massaging nice and looking after. He's looking after me, he is. And then he kicks in and goes, right, calm down, James. You need to breathe. Take yourself out of the situation. He's a dickhead, yeah, but he's gone past you. Fucking let it go. Okay. And then you sit there and you do your deep breathing. So you'll just look at the road. You'll be angry with him. But as you're breathing, your deep breathing, you turn the music down because you need to take away those extra senses. So that's what I normally do. I turn the music down, turn everyone shush, breathe, do that for 2 minutes, and then the music will just go up gently, and then it will just carry on along its way. Now, that wouldn't have happened, and I've been in situations where like I said, I've fucking chased people and thrown fucking flip-flops at people. I've got out the car, banged the handbrake on, and started fucking Usain Bolting out the road, chasing people. I've been punching fucking, trying to punch fucking windows through and all sorts. That was the height of PTSD when it first ever happened. You lose control. It's horrendous to lose control. So now I don't lose control. I go, that's a shit situation. Bit of a shit sandwich there, mate. You're chewing down on it. Do you know what I mean? So let's put that sandwich down and let's go and get another sandwich, because that sandwich was fucking horrible. You go and pick up a nice egg, mayonnaise and cress, or something like that, you know? Or pick up a nice hors d'oeuvre. So, yeah. This is why we need to manage these negative sort of thoughts and these negative scenarios. Do it for 3 months. It becomes a natural habit. It becomes a normal habit to control your breathing. You be a better person. Every time you lose control, you've got to say to yourself, I've lost control there. How can I regain control? How can I regain the control of the situation to make it better? And the more and more you do it, the quicker your brain will think, to the point where you won't even need to think about it. You'll just do it. You'll just, all of a sudden, like I do now, I'll just walk out of a situation. I literally just fucking walk off. And then I go outside, or I go out the front door and do something. I breathe around the corner. I come back in and go, yeah, okay, then, yeah, sorry about that. I literally just do that now, because that's where I have to be. And I don't like getting into a heated scenario. And I've done it in a pub before. About fucking 4 or 5 weeks ago, I was in a pub and I just walked out. Me and my missus, we were not arguing, but it was a bit of a heated debate about my daughter, and I was like, oh, and I knew it was getting me angry, so I walked out of the situation. And it was just a scenario we were having just a challenging debate on parenting, but, you know, we got there and I came back in and I saw the situation rationally, how she'd already seen it. So, you know, my fault. I fully concur. That is my fault. I concur. That is my fault. That's someone saying it's your fault, James. And I'm going, I fully concur. So managing these and becoming normal and doing it properly, not becoming normal, becoming the normal within 3 months will help you deal with these situations. Even if, God forbid, you know, you're in the middle of doing something, there's nothing that anyone can stop you from doing just to take yourself out of that situation for 5 minutes. Human rights will dictate that you can do that, you know? It's your way of managing the situation. It's your way of controlling the situation. And that's the easiest way to deal with it. And obviously, I have to finish because I think it's only right that I do finish. That if you see this and you need a little bit of anger management, then obviously, as a little final thought, you would need to get help. And getting cognitive behaviour therapy is invaluable. It helped me out massively, and that's what gave me a lot of coping mechanisms. And as I've been researching it, they've been bouncing back in my head, and I've been putting them into scenarios. So it does work. It really does work. So yeah. I hope that has helped you. It really has, because it's really important, because you don't realise the collateral damage that you can cause with moments of anger, moments of snap spontaneity through frustration. It's just not a nice situation for the person and for yourself, because you've put yourself in physical and mental health problems. You're giving yourself stress and tension. And not only that, you're systematically beating the other person down, and you're belittling them, you're making them feel inadequate, you're shouting at them, it's just a horrible situation. The whole thing to encompass with anger is, I'd love to be completely and utterly relaxed. I'd love to be that person. I know I'm not, but at the same time, it gives me my drive and focus in life to be hypertension a little bit to a degree, but I need to manage that now. So stop it boiling over, stop hitting just knock the gas down by a couple of notches to stop the bubbles, or put a spoon on top of my head. Those sort of situations to deal with. But obviously, I hope it's helped. I really do. It's helped me no end. And like I said, once you start doing it regular, you start managing your anger. If that's your problem, then, and that's that's, even if it's not going to be a cure for your mental health condition, not at all. But what it is going to do is it's going to help your mental health condition. It's going to help you cope, even if it's not even a mental health condition, but that's just how you deal with a scenario. Then use these strategies to manage how you develop your how you deal with situations. It's very much like ADHD. It's kind of like that, losing control quick, not thinking about it. It's some people's brains unfortunately fire too quickly, and if you're an angry person, it's the consequences can be devastating. So get them under control. But thanks for listening. Super enjoying this, and I'm looking forward to next week, the live show, and getting that underway, because I think there's going to be so much out of that little expert bit as well. So, and obviously I've got the reflection hour tomorrow. So not that there's quite a bit to reflect about, but I've got this little thing actually to talk about tomorrow, which I watched a little video today, and it's really, really, really relevant for this whole journey and friendship and relationships and anything. To the person that I got it off as well is it will probably it's probably a bit crazy who it is, but big things tomorrow to talk about in the reflection hour. So I look forward to talking to you, and I hope you have an amazing evening, and keep those relaxing, keep those nice de-stressed moments, and enjoy them. Take care, everyone. Bye.